Welcome back, anglers. Thanks for coming to bass-cafe.com. Today we're going to do an equipment review of Shimano's new Chronarch. Today we've got the Chronarch MGL 150XG. That's the 8:1 gear ratio. Over the side we also have the 7:1 that I've been throwing for about 2 years. I've got a couple of those. And then next to those, for longevity purposes, and show you how well they wear, I've got some more Chronarchs that are probably 22, 25 years old that we'll be showing you as well. I absolutely give it an A+, well worth the spend, and we'll get into why here in just a second. First off, the reel weighs in at 6.5 ounces. That's really light. Of course, that's without the line on the spool, and if you go to the 8:1, your handle's a little bit heavier, so it's more like 6.6 because you get a little more leverage with that handle there. So it'll hold 110 yards of 12-pound test, pretty easy, and that's basically what I throw on most of mine, is right around 12 pound, but there are occasions where I'll use different. So that being said, let's get into the cool features about it. The neatest feature is really three different things. One of the things I like the most is longevity. When I spend that kind of money for a reel, I want it to last a long time. The Chronarch has the anti-rust bearings in it, so if you're out fishing, get wet, it's raining, your gear gets stowed for a couple of days, even a week, you forget it was wet in the rod locker or something, it's not going to rust on you. So over the course of time, that's going to help this last a long time. So you're going to get your $300 worth over and over and over. I don't recommend leaving it in a bunch of water all the time, but as you guys all know, that happens probably more frequently than we like. So it's got the anti-rust bearing that's really good. So next up on the list is the variable brake system, and that's over here on the side. You can hear a loud audio click. That's really handy, because when you're making your adjustments, especially on the water, you want to feel or hear that and know, like when you're throwing a pop bar, you don't want to make a big adjustment and have a mess. So I really like that change, and that click is in there, so it can tell me exactly what I'm doing for the change. So in order to get inside of that, to see what's going on with the brake shoes and so forth, on the bottom you'll see right here is an open latch. So you just click that with your thumbnail, push it open, and that opens the side. That'll slide down like so, and then it pops off. Now, in the old models, and I'll show you that in a minute, the Chronarch used to have a little spring in there that held it together so that you couldn't drop this in the water. I really like that. Kind of wish it would come back, but that adds weight and some other things to it as well. So they don't have that anymore, but still, if you just make sure you're in the middle of the boat, don't drop that, you'd be in good shape. Inside here, you see the brake shoes. You can adjust those brake shoes. I used to, years ago, think you had to do them in sync across from each other to keep the centrifugal force the right way, but you don't have to. You can just do one at a time if you want to, or release one at a time. That's really up to you, and it works great. Those are much bigger adjustments inside when you start moving those shoes around, so be careful with that. Okay, so then that that latch just goes back and it closes it back up, and you're good to go, and you can make your adjustments again. That's also the way you're going to get in and get your spool out. Okay, you just go in and open that back up and pull the spool out, and fall out in your hand. Away you go. The spool is a different spool. It's a little bit lighter than it was before by 1 gram. So what that means is you can throw lighter baits farther, and that's great, because I throw a lot of light baits, especially on these higher end reels. Again, pop bars, small tubes, small plastics. You can get away with doing that, and I really like that with plastics, because the lighter the bait, the smaller the plop, you know, when the splash hits the water, so especially when you're finesse fishing. So it's a great feature as well. So moving on, we've got quick fire 2 thumb bar, and that is probably my favorite feature of all this. I've got kind of medium to small hands, and when this sits on my rod, that thumb bar is just perfect. It kind of has a little angle there so that it just kind of fits perfectly in your hand. There's a little bit of a groove in it to keep a grip, a little grip on it. But when you get line on that, you're so close to the spool, it's so easy to control that you're going to find it extremely comfortable and easier to control, not just because it's got better equipment in it, but you're sitting closer to the reel, or to the spool. The reel itself sits way far down on your rod, so you're very close. You don't need big giant hands to run it. And again, with my smaller hands, that just works really good for me. Moving on, we have the cast control knob, which is over here on the side. From the previous versions of Chronarch, the version 4 years ago, I think it was a C1, had a really big knob here. That was kind of annoying. I didn't care for that. And they've reduced that down a little bit, and they've got rid of that gaudy looking red too. So now it's just your standard knob over here, a good size, not too small, because I'm getting older and tiny little knobs are hard to get. So this is just about right, medium, and it's a nice black color, blends in nicely with the reel. So this is where you're going to make your big adjustments, you know, your cast control stuff. So overall, great reel. Absolutely love it. I own 5 of them now, and I use them for everything from ultralight fishing with small baits to you can chunk some big old 3/4 and 1 ounce jigs with them as well. But I really like that. And again, with the 8 1-to-1, you get a little bigger handle to help you get a little more leverage on those fish and stay ahead of them. So sitting next to that for wear and tear purposes, I wanted to show you the reel that's about 2 years old. This is the Chronarch 150XG. This is a 7 1-to-1, same reel, different gear ratio. This reel, as well as that one, has the micro gears in it, and the micro gears are fantastic because it's instantaneous feel when something hits your lure. There's no play inside of it. When you get one in your hand, you'll see it's just right there, right now. There's no slop in it whatsoever. Obviously, you have your anti-reverse stuff on it, like all the reels do. The little blue handle, the little silicone things, I put those on there. That just helps me grab a hold, but they didn't come standard with the reel. But this is a 2-year-old reel. As you can see, it's holding up pretty good the test of time. I got a little nick in it right here, but that was one day with a 3/4 ounce jig. I had a little accident, and that was my own fault. So I got a couple more of these, and they're in great shape, almost like they were brand new. And going back in time just a little bit to show you, if you're wondering, you know, do I spend that kind of money on a reel? I ask you, how many times do you want to buy a reel? Do you want to buy it 2 times over the next 10 years, 3 times over the next 15 years? This reel is over 20 years old, probably close to 25. I've caught so many fish with this, big, small, and everything in between. And it's 200E6. It's got 7 bearings in it, 6.5-to-1. This is actually my spinnerbait reel. And I've got a couple of these, and they're in fantastic shape. Again, I keep them clean, I oil them, and I do my maintenance on them. And if you take care of them, they'll take care of you. I told you earlier about when the side plate used to come off and just kind of hang there. That's what they used to look like to get into the brake system. Well, that spring is no longer there. Now you just hold it in your hand. So still, this was a pretty cool feature. I'd like to see it come back somehow, as long as they keep the weight off the reel. But really easy access to get in there. So another Chronarch that's quite a few years old and isn't going anywhere. I've been offered quite a bit of money for those reels, and I'm not getting rid of them. So anyway, I hope you all like the review for the Chronarch MGL 150XG. Fantastic reel. Can't wait to get out there and throw these 8 1-to-1s next year as soon as the snow gets out of here in Iowa. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope to help you out. And I would say if we went on a 10-point system, it's 10 out of 10. I absolutely love it. Cost, value, everything. Great reel. So we'll do some more reviews down the road, or some reviews down the road. And we appreciate you coming out to bass-cafe.com. Tight lines to all of you. Thanks for joining us.